Hello, I'm Daryl Minch, Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Somerset County. Welcome to Tasty Tuesday. Today we're going to make cucumber, tomato, avocado salad. So wish me luck. We have flickering power, so if we go dark, we may have to tape this for another time. But we're going to go with the flow. So I hope everybody's safe. Today we're going to use a cucumber. This is a really good recipe. I'll type in the ingredients later because you really don't need to measure anything. You can decide how much you need for your family. So I'm going to use this cucumber. I peeled one already. Sometimes the cucumbers you buy in the store, which is what I bought yesterday, are waxed, and I don't want that wax on my salad, and sometimes the green is a little bit bitter. So we're going to cut this into cubes, and I'll show you because having some trouble getting the, this one has fairly large seeds. If you think the seeds are too big, something you don't want in the salad, you could just use a spoon. Let me see, if you just use a spoon, and I'm just going to scoop them out a little bit. If they're small, you can leave them. So really the one side's a little bigger, so I'm going to scoop those and leave the others. Cucumbers are wonderful because they're nice and crunchy. They're cool. And they have like no calories. They're mostly water, not a lot of nutrients in them because they are so watery. So I'm just cutting these in chunks. You can cut them in whatever chunks you like, size pieces. I'd say I cut them about ½ an inch or so. This salad is one that you can make early in the morning and then let the flavors blend in the refrigerator during the day. While I'm thinking about it, since we are in the storm mode, I'm putting these into a bowl. If you should lose power, and I hope you do not, and I hope I don't, try not to open your refrigerator and freezer. Open it as little as possible. That'll help keep the cold in. A full refrigerator only keeps a few hours without power to keep things really cold. A freezer will keep longer, but the key is not to open and close that refrigerator freezer. All right, so those are my cucumbers. Next, we're going to add some tomatoes. So you have two choices. I like to use grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes because they don't have a lot of extra moisture in them and they hold up nice in the salad. You could also use plum tomatoes cut into cubes. I find the slicing tomatoes have too much water. So let me show you a real quick trick. So you need a plastic lid that has some edge to it, and you're going to put your tomatoes on top of that lid. Sorry you can't see the table exactly. I'll explain it. You're going to take a second lid and you're going to put it on top. So you're making kind of a sandwich. And then you're going to use a knife. I like to use a serrated knife with the rippled edges. On tomatoes, it cuts really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on the top thing, and I'm going to cut right through the middle of my tomatoes. This makes cutting a lot of tomatoes in half really easily. And what you get are these nice halves. If you are more of the perfectionist, or your tomatoes are really large, perfectionist meaning you like every piece to be the same, then this is not the technique for you because they're never perfectly even. But if you want quick and easy, it is a really simple step for the recipe. So I probably have a little over 2 cups of the cucumber in here, and I'm going to do a few more tomatoes, including that plum tomato. So probably with 2 cups of cucumbers, I would do about a cup of tomatoes. Again, you do what you like for your recipe. I'm going to toss those in. If I'm using this, I'm cutting it in half, getting rid of the hard stem, and then I'm going to cut it into pieces. Tomatoes are a great source of lycopene, and lycopene is one of those phytonutrients, plant nutrients that has some promise for heart health. also for protecting against sunburn to a certain degree. Doesn't mean you can go out and spend hours in the sun without sunblock, but it is protected for the skin. It's found in tomatoes. Watermelon is an awesome source of lycopene, and pink grapefruit. Lycopene, at least in the case of tomatoes, is best absorbed with a little bit of oil. So this recipe does have some olive oil in it, so that'll be that. So I chopped up some plum tomatoes, also a good source. Next, we're going to use an avocado. So avocados are great. When they're ripe, they should have some give to them, and they should, a Hass avocado may be really dark green or almost black in color. So I'm going to show you how to safely cut an avocado. You do not want to cut the avocado in your hand with a sharp knife. Avocados are cutting avocados incorrectly is a real concern, and it causes frequent visits to the emergency room. It's called avocado hand. True story. Someone in my office last year was using the incorrect method for cutting the avocado. Missed cutting the avocado, sliced her hand, cut a nerve, spent the summer in a hand all wrapped up. It was serious injury. So when you cut the avocado, you're going to cut it on a cutting board, and you're going to take the hold the avocado up top, and you're going to hold the knife and spin the thing. Do not cut it in your hand. So I'm cutting to the pit, and I'm turning it around, and I'm turning it around. Now I'm going to quarter turn it. So the cut was here. I'm going to cut it into quarters essentially. Same technique. I'm holding it up top, so I'm not in contact with the blade. And usually what happens is the avocado pit just slips right out. You can use a spoon to pull it out. Do not use the old whack it with a knife and twist. Too many people have missed with a knife and it caused serious injury. So I now have 4/4 of my avocado, and I'm going to peel the back of the skin right off my avocado. If you want to ripen your avocados, you bought them hard, like one I bought yesterday. Put them in a paper bag. You can even add an apple, which will speed the ripening a little bit. And keep checking them, but every 2 to 5 days for ripening. So you do need to think ahead for your recipe a little bit. All right, so let me wipe my hands here. I'm going to cut these into little pieces. If your avocados are really ripe, I would add those closer to the time for serving, because the oil will tend to emulsify them, and you'll end up with more of an avocado dressing than having the chunks of avocado in there. I mean, the same thing will happen to the avocados if you keep the salad for a couple of days after. Sometimes the avocados get very soft, or they almost emulsify into dessert. So we have our salad here. I'm adding my avocado pieces. Now we're going to add the zest, a little bit of the zest and the juice of 1 lime. I'm rolling it around on the table. That kind of breaks up some of the membranes, and it'll allow you to have the juice better. Before I juice it, I'm going to use a little bit of the zest. Just adds a little bit of flavor. And I'm going to cut this in half. Again, don't cut it in your hand. You're cutting it on the cutting board very carefully. Okay, so we're just going to make this really simple. I'm going to squeeze it with my hand, but you can also use a fork to kind of break up the membranes a little bit. You don't need any fancy juicer. Not only does the lime give you nice flavor, but it also helps keep the avocado from darkening. You can freeze avocado. You want to treat it with a little lemon juice or lime juice before you freeze it, and then wrap it up tightly. It's going to darken some. That's kind of a given, but the flavor will still be there. The other ingredient here is I used finely sliced and quartered red onion. If you don't like onion, you can leave it out. Or if you like a milder taste, then use like a Vidalia or a yellow onion. We're going to add, some olive oil. When you buy olive oil, you want to look for a dark container because light degrades the oil. You want to look for extra virgin, which means it's the first pressing of the olive, and that has the most flavor. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of olive oil here. Again, you don't need a whole lot, but the olive oil will help the lycopene in the tomatoes. I will say I purchased this little glass. It's labeled with different ounces and also tablespoons and teaspoons. Really good tool when you're measuring liquids. It measures up to 2 tablespoons. I find it really useful. We're going to add about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. There we go. Not too much. Again, salt is just going to bring out some of the flavor, but we don't want a lot because we don't need the extra sodium in our diet. I'm going to use a few spins of some black pepper. And then the next ingredient I'm going to use is some cilantro. Now, cilantro is one of those herbs that people either like or dislike. It actually has a genetic component to it in terms of flavor. So I love cilantro, as does my husband. Little tip, if you buy cilantro, I store it in a cup with some water. You don't want any of the leaves in the water. You just want the stems, kind of like flowers. And then loosely put a plastic bag over the top. And your cilantro will stay fresh. I've had it a week or more. Check it every few days just to see if there's any leaves that are starting to decay, and you can remove those. Also, make sure you have a sturdy flat bottom glass, or I like to use a mug because, I don't know about you, but in my refrigerator, if you're jostling things around, a tall glass is likely to tip over and then the water is all over the place. Cilantro, you can use the leaves whole. The stems are very fine generally, so if you have a little bit of stem, it's not going to matter. If you want to cut it up a little bit, I'll show you a quick trick. All right, so to quickly mince up parsley or cilantro, I use scissors, and I just kind of use the scissors in a cup, or a mug works really well. And you're just loosely cutting them up a little bit. I don't want them too fine. Toss those in. And I used about 1/2 cup because we really like cilantro, but you can use less if you like it. So now we're just going to toss this around. Again, I think it's best if you could refrigerate it at least an hour to let the flavors blend. It's a really pretty salad. If you want to use it more for a main dish and add some protein to it, I like to add some garbanzo beans sometimes, or you could use some small white canned, like cannellini beans. So this is the finished salad. Really easy to make. I'm gonna scoop out just a little bit to try here. I will post the rest of the ingredients later. Bon appetit. Delicious. Join us Friday at 11 o'clock when Jen and her daughter make a recipe. Our Wellness Wednesdays tomorrow at 2, if you need to register for Wednesdays, it's a webinar, is on the food label, and there is some new changes to the new food label that's starting to appear. So I hope you can join us for that. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.